everybody, it's Kelsee Briana J here with the long-awaited Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Liquid Foundation. I was determined to say that in one take, and I just did it. I'm so proud of myself. I really am. But you guys have been waiting on me to do a review on this foundation for weeks now. Ooh, I've been busy, y'all. I've been busy. But every time I drop a video, you all are like, okay, that was cute or whatever, but are you gonna review the foundation? And I'm like, you know I got you. You know I got you. But of course, before I review any foundation, I like to test it. I like to be able to gauge a real opinion on it. And so today is the day where I am finally going to sit down and film a review on this foundation. So this foundation just launched not too long ago. I drove to the first Sephora that had this foundation out. I actually got this foundation before it launched online. I know, crazy, right? I'm so excited to be testing out this foundation because, as you all know, Hourglass came through with the Vanish Seamless Finish Foundation Stick Foundation maybe like a year or two ago at this point, and everybody loves this one. But from what I can tell, most people really prefer a liquid foundation to a stick. So I know everybody was super hyped to see them coming out with the liquid. And I know your burning question is this foundation good? And if it is it as good as the stick? So in this video, I'm going to be testing out the liquid foundation one day, and then the next day I'm going to be testing out the liquid on one side and the stick on the other side just to see how they compare. So here's the packaging, classic Hourglass packaging. Here's the actual foundation. I think it's really nice and sleek and cute. It has like this flat side and then the other side is rounded. So it looks a little bit different than any other foundation that I have in my collection. So I think the packaging is really cool. This foundation retails for $56. It does have 0.84 fluid ounces, so not quite the full ounce. I know. It's a very saturated foundation, so you do not need a lot. The description states that this foundation has a natural finish. This foundation is targeted to work for people with normal skin, combination skin, or oily skin types. I have combination skin, meaning my skin is drier on my cheek area and down here on my jawline, and then in my T-zone area, I do tend to get a little bit oilier. The description reads, this highly concentrated formula provides full coverage with minimal products. It applies like a second skin, creating a smooth and flawless complexion. Light reflecting microspheres blur and create a soft, focused finish. The non-comedogenic formula is waterproof, transfer proof, and sweat proof. So that is what we will be testing today and tomorrow when we test it against the stick foundation. I have on the foundation on my skin now. As you all can see, I applied it on either side using two different methods. On one side, I applied it using a brush. On the other side, I applied it using a dampened sponge. But I want you to see how this foundation applies and wears. I also want to note my color. I have the color warm beige. This color is not the same that I got in the stick. Whenever I picked out the stick, I picked the color honey, and I may have bought this in the summertime, but the color honey is too dark for me right now. Warm beige matches me a little bit better. There's 32 shades of this foundation. I do feel like a lot of the deeper complexion shades, they run a little bit warm tone, so just be careful with that. I spent time in the Sephora swatching every single one of those foundations. Now, mind you, this Sephora is not my Sephora, so I don't really know them. So they're looking at me like I am absolutely crazy. They're like, did you need some help finding a shade? I'm like, no, I just need to be alone. They are not the prettiest swatches in the world. I am so sorry. I'll go ahead and insert that now. That I will jump into the demonstration where today I am testing out this liquid foundation, and on one side I'm going to test it out with the sponge, and on the other side I'm going to test it out with a brush, and then you guys can see how it applies using both of those tools. So I hope that this is helpful. Stay tuned to see how this wears throughout the day, and then tomorrow I'm going to be testing out this liquid and the stick. So enjoy. So we're going to shake this thing up. Even though it's not that liquidy, I still do it just to make sure. Let's work from the palette because I don't want to put it on my hand. I'm going to go in with 2 pumps, and it feels pretty thick coming out. On the right side, I'm going to go in with the brush. This is the Marc Jacobs The Shape Brush. And let's blend that out. It has a little bit of a fragrance to it. It's giving me a lot of coverage. I pretty much still have a pump left and I haven't even touched it yet, and pretty much I've blended my entire face. It's going on very smoothly with the brush. This is like skin perfected type coverage. Like, I don't see any of my freckles. I don't see any of the imperfections. It's just straight up coverage. I feel like this brush blended it out really good. That looks smooth with just this brush. I don't need any more. I feel like it gave good coverage. So I still have some left over. I'm gonna add like half a pump to that just because I don't want to waste. So this is probably one full pump. And then on the other side, I'm gonna take a sponge. This one is the Kelsee sponge. And I'm going to blend the left side with that just to see if I get that same amount of coverage. From what I can immediately tell, the sponge definitely sheared out this foundation a great bit. On this side, you got that full intensity color payoff, very saturated, and on this side it's going on a little bit more sheerly, which is not a bad thing. If you're not looking for full drama all the time, but you like this foundation, you may want to go in with it with a sponge. Using the sponge, you are going to use more foundation to get the same amount of coverage that you would get with the brush. Now, you can take your time and build it up with the sponge, and I feel like the finish of it is not going to look as heavy as it does with the brush. Essentially, even though you're using more products, it's still going to look like less because of the way that the sponge applies it. And like I said, it looks a little bit lighter in coverage than this side, but to me, this product is just laying and wearing and presenting in two different ways, even though it's the same thing. It looks like I have on two different foundations in my opinion. I'm gonna add some finishing touches to my makeup, and I'll be back to show you what everything looks like all together. So I have everything all together. I used concealer. I set that concealer with my Laura Mercier powder. Also set the foundation all over with my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish, which took away a lot of that shine. So here's what everything looks like all together. Very smooth, very full coverage. So like if you wanted coverage queens, here you go. I think everything looks very smooth. I think everything looks very made up though. So if you're a person who likes your makeup to look natural, maybe you can try it. But overall, I think this is a pretty full coverage foundation. I'm not mad at it, you know? So I'm going to keep wearing it around on this Super Bowl Sunday. We'll see how it lasts. I'll do check-ins. And of course, I'm going to wear this foundation for 8 hours. And I'll check back in ever so often and let you guys see what it looks like. So stay tuned. Okay. I need to do a check-in. Oh my goodness. So I've had this foundation on for 3 hours. And I'm at the grocery store. And as you all can tell, my grocery store's playlist is a little I think my foundation looks smooth, like smooth. It still looks good. I have a little bit of oil breaking through, but I think it looks even better now than it did when I first applied it. When I first applied it, I could see where it could kind of teeter on the, you know, side of being a little bit drier. I'm trying to talk fast because I feel like I don't have any privacy in here. Like, why is everybody here? Foundation looking real lovely. Like, it's very, very full coverage. So if you are here for a full coverage moment, then this may be for you. But I'm gonna check back in 2 more hours, so then that'll be 5, and then after that I'm gonna do 1 more 3 hour, and then that's gonna be 8. So stay tuned. So I am back, and it has been 5 hours since I've had this foundation on, and it's still full coverage. There's no splotchiness, there's no patchiness. I've been laying on the couch just chilling. So for now, my skin looks pretty decent. Like, I like the way that this is worn, and it looks like it was a heavier foundation going into it. And you know, sometimes with those foundations, once your oils start breaking through, sometimes those type foundations can just look heavy and cakey and just thick. It doesn't really look like that, nor do I really feel like it feels like that. I'm gonna go ahead and change into my pajamas, and then when I come back, it's going to be 8 hours. It's also gonna be midnight. Okay, and so I'm gonna definitely be ready to do my final check-in and take it off, but stay tuned. It's time to go to sleep. It's been 8.5 hours. I'm ready to do my final check-in for this test. For whatever reason, I am so stuffed up right now. I was not stuffed up all day, but for whatever reason, right now I am. So please bear with me and my voice. So I've had this foundation on for 8.5 hours. To me, right now, I feel like the foundation looks very heavy and very cakey. And that's because all of my oils that are going to break through have broken through. And so I feel like my face just kind of looks heavy. Now, I like the way that it looks earlier. Every day during the daytime is not really my time and place for this type foundation, but I do think that it's pretty. But I do feel like having it on for 8.5 hours, it looks heavy. It looks decent on camera, but I will say this foundation has not faded. It has not separated, and I still do not see any of my imperfections on my skin. I'm gonna test it out tomorrow, as you guys know, with the stick foundation on one side and the liquid on the other side, and I will report back and let you all know my findings on it, and I will see you all, and that's the magic of editing. Good night. Okay guys, so it's day 2 of our investigation, and as I stated yesterday, I'm going to be comparing the liquid foundation against the stick foundation, both of which are named the same thing, and this is supposed to be the liquid variation of their popular Hourglass Vanish Seamless Foundation. Wait a minute. Vanish Seamless Finish Foundation Stick. Vanish Seamless Finish Foundation Stick. That's too hard to say. Vanish. We're going to compare these two today, but before we jump into the demonstration, I want to give you guys some key details on each one. The liquid foundation retails for $56, but you do get a lot more products in the liquid foundation than you do in the stick. The liquid foundation has just shy of 1 fluid ounce. It has 0.84 fluid ounces of products, and the stick has way less. This has 0.25 ounces of products. Now, it is a very concentrated stick. I don't use the stick every day, but if I did, I could see myself going through this a little bit faster than I would this foundation. But also keep in mind that most stick foundations do not have as much product as a liquid foundation does. Both of these foundations claim to have a natural finish and to be full coverage. The stick foundation does give a wear time though. It claims to wear for 12 hours, and it says that this foundation is waterproof. The liquid foundation does not make those claims. Also, something to note that both of these foundations claim to be good for people who have normal, oily, or combination skin, but the stick foundation says it works for people who have dry skin. The liquid foundation does not claim to work for people who have dry skin. Also, both of these foundations have the same amount of colors. Both of them have 32 shades. I found that the honey in the liquid was a little bit darker than the stick honey, but I feel like the stick honey is already a little bit too dark for me. This is really my summertime color. I did not repurchase a new stick, but I made it work. But the liquid honey, it was just way too dark, so I went with another color. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the demonstration, and that way you all can see me apply the liquid on one side and apply the stick on the other side, and let's see how they compare. Okay guys, so I am going to compare these two foundations today. On this side, I'm going to do the liquid, and on this side, I'm going to do the stick. Also, in case you guys can see it, I have on one of my AirPods because I am on hold for a customer service representative, and I know you all can relate, and I don't want to lose my place, but I also am ready to start filming, so sorry if that is a distraction, but I gotta handle my business. So on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and apply the stick. So I have the color honey, which right now I think honey on camera, you know, darker colors sometimes show up correctly, but in real life I think honey is just like maybe half a shade too dark. But it's perfect for me in the summer. I am just going to apply this. And I have two 128 brushes by MAC. These are dual fiber blending brushes. So I'm going to blend out my foundation using this. And I will build where necessary. I like to use swiping, but I find with this foundation, it just really works better if you take your time and stipple it on. You all can already see like how my color kind of changed when adding on this foundation, but I like how it looks. It's so smooth. Let's make sure to hit that forehead. I have some little visitors here on both sides. Every time, TMI, but every time it's my time of the month, my chin area just kind of goes crazy. Every time. So yeah, I'm dealing with that right now. I feel like I got a great amount of coverage. I love the way this foundation looks when I initially apply it. I think it's super pretty. I feel like the finish of this foundation is like a satin finish. It's not too heavy, but yet I feel like I get medium buildable coverage. So now I'm gonna shake this one up with my other 128 brush, but I'm just gonna apply some here. I'm only gonna do one pump because you don't need a lot. And going straight in with the brush, let's apply some of this in the same manner. Let's stipple it on. Make sure I hit up that chin, because child. Now, the immediate difference I can tell with the liquid versus the stick is that the liquid has a scent and the stick one does not. What I can also tell is that I feel like the liquid is just a little bit thicker than the stick. The liquid is giving me more coverage upon initially applying it than the stick did. Now, the stick can definitely take it there, but you do have to layer it up. It's more medium to high coverage buildable, and then the liquid is just going to come out high coverage no matter what, because it's a full coverage foundation. So if you like how much coverage you get using the foundation stick, you may think that this is a little bit too much, but I think the finish is pretty. I think the finishes of the foundation are very similar in that they are like a semi-matte, almost like satin type finish. So I think both sides look really good, but like I said, this side does have more coverage and the shade is a little bit lighter. So I don't see any of my imperfections aside from any of the bumps that I have on my face that just are gonna be there regardless. You can't really cover that up. This side, I can see more of my skin peeking through, even though I still feel like it's really not that much skin peeking through. But I want to go ahead and finish off my makeup, and then I'll be back. Hopefully, and I do mean hopefully, they can come on with customer service. I've been on hold for 46 minutes. I just have been sitting here waiting on them to pick up the phone, but I'm like, you know what? The show must go on. So I'm back. I have my makeup finished, and can you all believe I have been on the phone for an hour? First, I was on the phone with the customer service representative, and then my friend called. So now I'm back, and I've had this on my face for a total of 1 hour, so you all can see what it looks like with my makeup finished. And I think everything looks really pretty on both sides. So on this side, I feel like it looks a little bit more relaxed, a little bit less full coverage. And I think this side is giving me all of the coverage and all of the full glamness to a makeup look. I find it interesting that the liquid foundation has more coverage than the stick, because the stick claims to have 2 times more pigmentation than most foundations. So I think that they embodied that in the liquid as well, but because it's in a liquid, it's going to apply a little bit thicker. So far, I think both sides look good. Both sides feel very good. Even though this side has a little bit more coverage, I don't feel it more on my skin. I think both sides still feel very comfortable to wear. I feel like the rest of my makeup went on both sides of my face really well, so it looks smooth on this side, and it also looks smooth on this side. As you all can see, I do feel like the liquid side is a little bit more matte. But I am interested to see how this foundation wears. I have already had it on for an hour, as I already told you guys. So I have 7 more hours to wear, and I will come back every so often and update you guys. So stay tuned. So I am back for my 4.5 hour check-in, and I think that my foundations are starting to show a little bit of sign of wear. I feel like both sides look more dewy than they did when I first applied them, but I feel like both of them still are wearing very well. I definitely think this one still looks more full coverage. I think this one, I still have that coverage, but I'm starting to see a little bit less coverage than I did when I first applied it. I do feel like this foundation is starting to wear a little bit more, meaning I don't see it as much. I feel like it's just kind of disappearing a little bit, but this side still has all the coverage. So I am going to keep wearing it, and I'll check back in again. So I've had on these foundations for 6 hours. The stick side of my face, I really feel like it's a little bit oilier than the liquid side, and I think that's really because the liquid side starts off a little bit drier than the stick. So as a result of that, the foundation stick is gonna wear a little bit faster than the liquid foundation, because the liquid foundation is a hair dryer. It is a little bit more matte, so it's gonna stay a little bit more matte throughout the day. However, I feel like I look more matte on the left side than I do on the right side. I will be back in 2 more hours, and at that time, I will tell you all my final thoughts on these 2 products. So it has been 8.5 hours, and I am ready to do my final check-in. I have extensive wear on both sides of my face. So I know your burning question is, Kelsee, which side do you prefer? And I am going to have to say I prefer this side to the stick side, simply because I feel like the stick always fades away by the end of the day. I think that this foundation is decent. However, at the end of the day, I feel like it looks kind of cakey. And that's because my natural oils break through and it mixes with the foundation, and I always feel like it just looks a little bit heavier than it did when I initially applied it. So overall, I'm gonna say I think both of these foundations have a time and a place. Neither one of them are my holy grail foundations. I like the stick foundation a lot better when it first came out. However, these days I don't reach for it that often because I just don't feel like the longevity is there with it. The liquid foundation though, if you're doing a photo shoot and you need some makeup that's going to be flawless, I would say this. But for everyday wear, I just feel like the liquid foundation is just too heavy. But if you're using your skin type as the determining factor as to which foundation you should try, if you have dry skin, definitely stick with the stick. Do not go to the liquid foundation. I feel like it's going to be too dry for you. If you have combination skin or normal skin, you could really go with either one. If you have oily skin, I would say the liquid will be better suited for you. Just don't use that much because like I said, if you have oily skin and you have a lot of the foundation on already, it's going to look heavy. So a little bit goes a very, very long way, especially if you know you're going to get oilier throughout the day and you don't want to look like a cake face. But I feel like this one over here is just going to slip and slide all over your face. So those are my final thoughts on the foundations. I think that Hourglass is a good brand. I think that these foundations are nice, but they're not my favorites, but they are good foundations. So let me know what you all think about them down in the comments section. I hope that you all enjoyed this review and I hope that it was worth your wait. And if you liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Let me know what products you want me to review next. And I will check you all in my very next video. Smooches. Bye.